Welcome to Wine Country. Yes, that's right. Joey Logano is going to take on the West Series today at Infineon Raceway in the Bennett Lane Winery 200. Welcome to the NASCAR Camping World Series West Bennett Lane Winery 200. It's another road course that this series will take on, the Infineon Raceway. Just under 2 miles is this tricky left and right turn course. And joining me today to talk about it is Phil Parsons. And I tell you what, Phil, this is one of those racetracks where even though we've got some amazing talent coming in here, it will test even the most veteran drivers.
It really will, and a test on equipment as well. This is a very, very difficult racetrack as we take a look at our Touring Series West Division point standings. Eric Holmes with a 36-point lead over Jason Bowles.
David Mayhew back there, 64 points, 83 points back is Mike David. The top 5 separated just by 111 points. We talk about how tricky this track is here. Let's take a look at where all the turns are and what we're going to call them today.
And there's a bunch of them. You come by the start-finish line, then you have that left-hander turn 1, top of the hill turn 2, second gear through there, then turn 3A, 4A, and then down to turn 7. A great passing zone getting in turn number 7 for these guys.
And then off into the S's, as we'll call them. And you talk about not only the right and left changes, but also the changes in elevation is difficult to really comprehend.
Yeah, it really is. As you go around turn 1 and into the little kink there, you actually don't even see turn 2 till you get there.
Taking a look at our starting grid, Patrick Long and Jason Bowles making up row number 1. Jason Bowles coming into this race with the second highest points. Eric Holmes will start in row number 2.
Yeah, Patrick Long is actually Jason Bowles' teammate out here. As a matter of fact, they grew up together, used to race go-karts together.
Patrick Long running more of the East Series races than the West, but does make occasional trips out here to the West Coast.
He had a great run at Watkins Glen on the road course on the East Series and actually was leading on the last lap and got into a little skirmish with Ryan Truex, and Ryan Truex ended up winning that race.
Yeah, we saw guys names like Boris Said, who is a road course veteran. We see Joey Logano getting some seat time here before his Cup race.
Remember, Joey Logano ran the East Series, was the East champion here a couple years ago, so he has a lot of experience in these type of cars and some experience on the road courses as well.
Amazingly enough, 40 cars are going to start this race. Our last race in Oregon week ago, we only had 17 cars, so a big difference number of cars that are going to be on the racetrack. Again, it's just under 2 miles is the racetrack. Let's go down to pit road and Bob Dillner.
A lot of people might be asking themselves, who is pole sitter Patrick Long? Well, I can tell you one thing, he is an accomplished road racer. In fact, he won the 24 Hours of Daytona this year in the GT2 class. Last week, he competed in France in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and he actually almost won the E-Series race just a few weeks back at Watkins Glen until getting booted on the last lap. In fact, he's the only American on a factory-backed Team Porsche. He's going to be good here today, and he says he has no chain on his collar. He's going for broke, going for the win.
Well, I think everyone is probably going to shoot for that checkered flag at the end of this race.
But people like Eric Holmes and Jason Bowles have to think about points too. This is a very short season, so they have to be cognizant of that.
The field all in line now, all 40 cars, door to door, side by side as they come through turn number 12. They will now see the green flag in the air.
Good jump by Patrick Long. Ooh, a little contact already, Eric Holmes and Jason Bowles.
Great start for Patrick Long as he jumps out to the front. And now they work their way through 2. As you mentioned, up that hill, they'll continue on to 4A.
Great racetrack there. Great part of the country, too. Very picturesque, but a real challenge for drivers and equipment alike.
A racetrack built right into the hillside here in Sonoma, California. Again, that 9 of Patrick Long, your pole sitter, has jumped out to a little lead.
David Gilliland has jumped up to the 3rd spot in front of the 6 of Jason Bowles. Joey Logano looks to the inside, not quite able to make it that time.
Logano again getting some seat time, some practice on this racetrack. No more testing in the Sprint Cup Series, so any seat time he can get at a racetrack is definitely educational.
How about Patrick Long right there? Nice jump early on over here.
Patrick Long, again, coming from the East Series where he runs most of his races. And do you think it's a disadvantage for the guys running for a championship in the West Series that you get all of these different drivers coming in for maybe one race?
Absolutely, and there's a perfect example right there. David Gillen going for the second spot on Eric Holmes. You got Patrick Long here. David Gillen, Boris said, all they're thinking about is winning. They're not thinking about points at all.
So Eric Holmes, Jason Bowles, David Mayhew, those are the drivers that are regulars in this series. They've got to almost keep their eye out for guys that are maybe running a little more aggressive that could hurt their chances for a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And this race is so different than the races we usually see. You know, the crew chiefs will run this race backwards. It's 64 laps. They know their pit window is somewhere around 45 to 50 laps. So as soon as they get into that window where they can make it on fuel, then they want to come to pit road. Unlike most racetracks where we have live pit stops, they don't want to do them under caution. They want to do them under green because you lose too much time under caution. If you do them under green, then the caution comes out. Everybody that hasn't pitted has to come in then, and you just drive right by them while they're on pit road.
How difficult is this racetrack on transmissions? I know we're shifting a lot around here.
The racetrack is not that difficult on transmissions. It's the guy operating that shift lever is the one that's difficult on transmissions.
So some might be a little more aggressive and obviously challenge the equipment of these vehicles.
Well,
and
so
brakes as well.
Absolutely, it's so easy to miss a gear, miss a shift too, even an upshift or a downshift. So that's something these guys have to be really aware of. Joey Logano's pulled right to the back bumper of Eric Holmes. Good battle for the third spot. Jason
Bowles just behind Joey Logano as those three negotiate turn 12 and back across the start-finish line, and we go again.
David Gillen actually has closed up a little bit on Patrick Long. Remember, David Gillen finished second out here last year in the Sprint Cup race. David
Gillen has had seat time in the Sprint Cup Series. Also now running the West and East Coast.
They're going to do double duty this weekend. Going to run the Adobe Winery Chevrolet for TRG Motorsports in the Sprint Cup race.
Where's the easiest place to make up ground on a racetrack like Sonoma?
Boy, the easiest passing parts are the places like that where you have to drive in the corner straight and then have a right or a left-hander. As far as making up time, you can make up time or lose time anywhere around this racetrack.
So the field all strung out around this racetrack. Let's head back to pit road and Bob Dillner.
Joey Logano moving through the field, and this was completely expected by the 11 team for Joe Gibbs Racing here today. I got a chance to speak to Joey just before the race began, and he said he is going to go all out like an animal to the front of the field to learn as much as he can for tomorrow's Sprint Cup Series race here tomorrow at Infineon. But guys, the only difference between the two cars really is here, and Joey said it's a big difference, is the tires. In the Cup Series, he's on a radial. In the West Series here, he's on a bias ply tire. And Joey says he loves running on the bias ply tire.
Been able to get around Eric Holmes in the 20, so that takes him up to the third position. Now he's got David Gilliland in front of him, as well as our pole sitter and race leader, Patrick Long.
See David Gilliland jump over the curb there. Jump over those curbs. Very high curbs out here at Infineon Raceway, and that will get the complete side of that car up off the ground.
We do see, on occasion, either the right side or left side tires completely off the racetrack. That's got to be difficult as a crew chief to try to set up a car when you never know what the driver's going to do with those bumps.
Yes, the difficult part about going left and right. I mean, sometimes you'll have a car that'll do one thing in the right, and you try to correct for that, and then it makes it do the opposite thing, obviously, in the other direction corner. So this is really a testament to a crew chief to have a car that handles well at this racetrack.
Patrick Long, David Gilliland 1 and 2. Joey Logano on the move has made it up to third.